All right, so you want to make a Chunky Charlie. When I'm ready to make, this is my original one. When I'm ready to make one, I just grab my pattern. I got all my pieces, yada, yada, yada. But you don't have these, but now you can. We've got these patterns on the website available. Link will be down in the description. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set these aside, pretend like I don't have them, and I'm gonna do exactly like you would do. Download the template, print it out, and roll, and make one of these. Follow along. Oh, here's what it's gonna look like. So when you print it out, just like that, 14 pages. And you're thinking, wait a minute, that wasn't 14 pages of no. There's a lot of extra stuff in here. We're gonna go over introductions, threading your needle, step by step by step. This thing walks you right through everything. Saddle stitch compared to machine stitch. This pattern is gonna walk you through everything you need, step by step on how to saddle stitch. Did I already mention that? Well, here it is again. Actually, the first one was just more about it. This is how to do it. Rulers, how to print, how to set up your printer, what's included, all the pieces. Then it gets into before you start. Now we get into the pieces. We're gonna cut these right out, follow right along. We're gonna make this easy, but obviously I'm not gonna show you how to print this out. Just follow the directions, I've got it. And by the way, when you print this out, it's gonna look a whole lot better than mine because it's gonna be in color. Well, not the words, but there are color. I don't have a color cartridge in my printer, and I don't think I have in the last 15 years, so mine's what you call grayscale. But yours will be pretty if you have color. All right, let's do this. Before we get to the leather, two things. First, I don't like this cup, so we'll put this over here. Secondly is, let's get our patterns all cut out. So go to your pages. So these pages here, I'll show you how to do that. Let's get that going. This is what we're gonna have. We're gonna have the main piece. This is not exactly the same wallet because this pattern has two more pockets than this one. It's got an actual stash pocket on each side here. So bear with me. This piece is the whole main body piece back here. This piece is the bill pouch on the back. These two pockets are the two pockets I just mentioned, are not on this example. These two are these two. So let's get these cut out. Get this out of the way. So this is the way I would do it and what I would use. The Mascon ZD square, the full size square. For some of these you can use the mini square. Hold on, that one. Just a plain centering ruler, bump jig, something to cut. So let's get these over there, get some cutting going on. I'm gonna start with these two pockets here. I'm gonna cut one out with extreme precision. The other one I'm gonna cut out kind of loosely, and I'll explain why in just a second. So let's get these cut out. Perfectly perfect. I prefer to go from the outside in, so that way when I'm looking at the edge of this ruler, I look for that white space between that black ink line and that black ruler. And as soon as I see that white space between those two disappear on both ends, I know I'm perfect and I can cut it. I'll show you up close. So between that black line and this ruler. Now that is perfect all the way around. We're going to ignore these corners for right now. Now for this one doesn't have to be as perfect, and I'll explain, like I said, I'll explain in a second. But you can get it pretty close. Just less less stressful to have one that you don't have to be so perfect with. And we don't want to mix these up. So on this one, the not so perfect, put layout, or I put layout, hide layout to be more specific. This one is pattern, the real McCoy. So when we go to lay all of our pieces out on the hide, it's not a big deal if they're off a millimeter or two for this one, but when we go to actually cut the leather pieces out themselves, this is the one you want to use to cut those out. But again, on the hide, it's not a big deal. Now do the same for those two, a pattern and a hide layout. These two, let's go ahead and make those perfect. All right, we got the 4 pockets cut out, the 2 stash pockets, pat and hide layout, and then the 2 card sleeves. We're gonna cut these curves in a second. Wanted to also point out here on the main body piece, you're gonna see it's gonna be printed down here, and there's a fold right through here. Do not glue. I just rewrote it up here because I'm gonna cut that off. Boop, cut off. But we're gonna get to that later because these pieces are gonna go here and here, so there's not gonna be glue here, but I'll show you how to do that. Hold on. Then, on the back bill pouch piece, this piece, don't cut the width yet. Just cut the top and the bottom all the way across. And it says it down here, cut the length after interior pieces of the wallet are put together. I'll show you how to do that too. So, we're almost done cutting out paper. We're gonna move to leather in a second. All right, so real quick, this is that bill pouch again. Just cut the bottom off and the top off. Leave these sides for right now. You can trash that. Grab your pat card pocket with the curve. Let's cut this out. Just go real slow. I'm not gonna lie, leather is a lot easier to cut than paper. May as well cut this arc here out too for the bill pouch. Again, go slow. If you mess it up, you could just print that page and start over. Or just let it go. And here's a recap of what we should have. Main body, bill pouch, we'll cut the edges off later. Card pockets, 2. Stash pockets, 2. Is that in focus? Well, you get the idea. Let's go to the leather now. See, right now, we're just getting roughly. So these don't have to be exact. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, we see. At this point, I'll usually take a picture of where I like everything because I'm going to move everything off and slick the back. Slicking the back is optional. Tocanoli, white mud, burnish and butter. Glass burnisher. Now let that dry. We'll flip it over and get going. Now let's get these pieces cut out. See how easy that was, keeping them in the same spot. All right, I'm gonna show you how to do the bump jig cutting method real quick. I'll show one time, and then after that, you'll just see it happening all over the place. We got one straight edge here. Let's get another straight edge here. We know we cut this perfectly this way and this way. So we can put that here, bump that, bump. Bump that, and bump that. Now this one you could do the same thing. This paper's so thin, it's a little bit tricky. When you do leather, it's a lot easier. So what you can do, just mark where you know you want it. Bump that. Okay, so other than the corners curved, that's an exact perfect piece. And what I'm gonna do, because I know that all these are the same height as this, I'll use that to cut the height on these. And here's a good example. These two, let's ignore those for a second, are supposed to be the same height as that. So let's put a real straight edge here and use that. So now we know that's perfect. Bump that, bump that. So we know that's that. Now, to get these, at least two of these pockets, they're all the same size. Let's give ourselves a straight right angle here. And take one of our Pats, the real McCoys. Be careful with your first one, get it perfect, and then after that you can use that leather. I'll show you. So that is the exact size for all four of your pockets. So now you know you got another one here. Bump it, bump it. Those two are identical and no measuring. So we will grab two more of those up here. However we had it, we'll finish. Give ourselves a straight edge. We know those two are like that, right? Give ourselves a perfect right angle. And we know we want the height to be the same as our body, or you could use that one. Either way, this should be identical. Okay, now we've got our four pockets and our main body. Also wanted to mention, as I was showing you this before, I don't have that stash pocket here. You can eliminate two of these if you want to and make it just like this and just have these two pockets. While we're here, let's just make one extra cut and then we'll finish up this one later. But we know we have a straight edge here. So what you can do, put that there, that there. You can either do the bump jig or you could put a mark there and there and just connect your dots. That's the right height, right angle, right angle. We're gonna trim that off after we measure it. Actually, we're not gonna measure it, we're gonna wrap it around, but we need to keep this side knowing where we are. I usually just take a pen and mark that corner and mark that corner. That just tells me these are the good corners. Cut that end off later. All right, we got four pockets. Let's put these straight ones, stash pockets aside. Now we've got the curved ones and you got your four pockets. So take two of them that are gonna be curved and we'll do this curve. Take your leather, pattern, bump jig, and just trace that line. Then a sharp knife and cut that line. That's a lot easier than cutting paper. And then you can use that on here if you want to. You get the idea. Next step, with these 4 pockets, make these edges look pretty. We're gonna bevel them, dye them, and that's optional. You don't have to dye them. And then burnish them. For a single layer, this is 5 ounce. I use a Berry King size 0. I don't know if you can see that. So there's the size 0 on the bottom, and then I'll use a size 1 for anything that's 2 layers or more. So you'll see that later. Do that to the rest. On this one, it's just a straight right on the front here. Bonus tip, to strop this, just take a piece of thick veg tan, some jeweler's rouge. I use red. Just rub some jeweler's rouge on the corners. Don't overthink it, just throw it on there. Take that and just run it backwards. That's all you gotta do. Again, don't overthink things. Again, this is optional. You don't have to dye the edges if you don't want to. This is just Phoebe's Chocolate Pro Dye. Next up, a little burnishing butter, white mud, some Harbor Freight painter's drop cloth. Nothing special. Again, no need to overthink it. There it is, right there. Huh? Whoop. Huh? Look at that. So pretty. All right. We're rolling. We're rolling. If you have a maker's mark, let's go ahead and put that right there. Arbor press, again, Harbor Freight, bump jigs. These space these logos perfect. I sometimes use archival ink, even on these brass stamps. Next thing we're gonna do, these stitches here to make 2 card pockets. And a little trick, take your pattern, and you see we've got right there is where your stitches go. Just put a hole anywhere around there, anywhere around there, and then circle them in red so you can see them. And you can dummy label it if you need to. Bump that to there. Use our bump jig again. How easy is this? Take your awl, find that hole, mark it, mark it. Something like that. Doesn't have to go all the, well, do not go all the way to the end, because you're gonna have a stitch line right through here. We're gonna stop 1 stitch back or so. Of course, do the second one. Now we need to attach that to that, and that to that. Rough up your leather. While you're here, you might as well rough up the back of these too. All right, when you're done, you're gonna have something like that, roughed up. Glue that to that, glue that to that. If you're impatient, you can do that. All right, just put them together. The more perfect you are now, the easier it's going to be later. What's next? Oh, let's put these holes in here for stitching. All right, let's put these on here. Show you an easy way to mark for gluing and for roughing for gluing. Just bump that to there, mark there, do it again at the top, mark there. So glue will be there, which is what this gray on your pattern is all about. That's where the glue goes. See, no glue in the middle. And we already roughed up the underside of these. So I'm gonna rough these up. Oh, we forgot to stitch these. Oop. Hold on. I'm gonna rough these up and then we're gonna get back to stitching these. I think Chloe got me all flustered out there. Okay, where were we? We were here. That's just an old wooden spoon, modified, cut. But you know, you get the idea. All right, let's go pick some thread. Let's do cream. I usually go whatever the length is about 4 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And we need 2 of them. I'm not going to go over all the hand stitching because that's in your packet, remember? And I also have a video on hand stitching, so with one of those 2, you'll get it. But I'll show a little bit of it. I'm just not going to walk you through it word by word. All right, let's get back to where we were before. Glue those on there. So what happens to a bone folder dipped in coffee for days? A little dye. Anyway, all right, so we're getting ready to put these back. This is a little something if you wanted to. This is Horween Dublin English Tan. If you want it to look kind of distressed and unique and whatever, give it a couple of these. The pull-up on this is incredible. So you can make it look like that instead of like that. All right, anyway, I'm gonna glue this together. And through the magic of TV or editing, it's glued together. All right, now put the back pocket on. So we've already got it cut. Remember, we put these 2 little X's down here, square, everything's perfect. Height, we just need to figure out the length. Just take this, take your good side, set it there, flip it around. Just like that. flush. Take your bump jig, the square. And you'll see the reason that you have to wrap it around is because that's flush. See how much longer that is? It's got a longer distance to travel, but when you close it, now they're both flush that way. But it's longer. All right, let's put the curve up in here and we'll go to the pattern. Okay, so we need to get this curve into the center of here. So to find the center of this, two different ways to do this. Let me tell you the way that I would do it. The way I would do it is I would go ahead and cut where we are here, and to find the center, well, it doesn't really matter which way you want to do this. Let's do it this way. Let's cut these off like I would do it. Then I'm looking for the center of that. If you get a Mascon and ZB centering rule, it makes it pretty easy. So this is 8 1/4. So then you just go down here to the 8 1/4, and it shows you exactly. Find 8 1/4 up here, 8 1/4 right there. Boom. That took less than 3 seconds to find that center. So you want to put that there. What I sometimes and usually do is just eyeball this, put a little gap here, because this is never going to be exactly the same on each wallet because the thickness of the leather changes. So it's going to be a little bit longer to wrap around, a little bit shorter to wrap around, depending on how thick the leather is. So you could do it this way and eyeball it, or if you wanted to get really, really technical, you could find the center up here, measure this, 8 3/8. And then you can come down here, 8, 1, 2, 3, 3/8, so right there. So there's the center. And then you could line up that center with this center. Take your bump jig. So again, two ways. Just kind of eyeball pretty good, or find that dot and that line, line them up. Both of them are foolproof. And then mark it and cut it. Easy peasy. Let's put that on that. No, hold on. We got to edge this, bevel it, dye it, burnish it, make it look pretty. Then that on that. All right, there we go. Pretty and shiny. And you can bet your sweet ass I'm going to do this again. Much better, much better. All right, we need that on there, which means we need glued, which means we need it roughed up. And easy part, you know this is going to be glued there to there. That's easy. But how do you know where to stop? That's easy. Can be easy. Look, bump jig there. You're going to glue up to that pocket. Bump, bump. You're going to glue up to there. Mark it. All right, that's done. Now how about that? Same thing. That goes there. Put that over there. Bump it up. Mark it. You're gluing to here, so you can look right through here, and you're going to glue to there, and you're going to glue to there. All right, I'm going to glue that up. Come on back. All right, all glued up, and you see how that spine puckers up because it's longer, but then when it closes, it comes together. Now, if you want to, if you're going to stitch this way, which you should, you could just glue this part, leave that flapping. It's a little bit easier, and then glue that after. But I'm going to go ahead and just do it all at the same time, show you how easy it could be this way. Let's start marking some stitches, putting some holes in, and doing some hand stitching. Before we go marking this for stitching, we need these corners to be round. We don't want anything sharp and pointy. Easiest way is to get an arc punch, not a half circle punch, an arc punch. Like that. And then when you get up here, you got this pocket, just grab a scrap. And to mark your stitching, I prefer to use a stitchy widget. Link in the description for these. For this one, I'm going to go 5mm. And we have different widths here, but just mark all the way around except for right there where there's not going to be any glue. You know, where that pucker is. Now you just start punching. Now just go all the way around. Again, don't go where the pucker is. When you get up here where the pocket is, grab that little scrap so you can bridge that gap. Makes it a lot easier. It's flat. Like that. One more tip. Where you have this, your thread needs to fall over this edge where that bill pouch is. You see that? That'll be coming straight off of there. Mark where that hole would go, which would be right there, to fall over that edge. Now you know where to put that hole. Like this. Can you see that little tiny tip right there? That's what you want. That hole to fall right on the edge of that belt pocket. Just to the other side, you see that the silver of that tooth right on the edge. That's what you want. And when you're done, holes all the way around, except for at the pucker. I would go 4 times around. If you're really, really thick, maybe make it 4.5, almost 5, because that's pretty thick. The last thing you want to do is run out. So that would be 1. So there's 4, and I'm going to go at least 4.5, possibly 5. Again, I've already shown you how to hand stitch, and there's also my hand stitching video on my channel if you want to go watch that. So I'm not going to bore you with stitching this. I'll be back in a couple hours. Okay, so you've watched this. You tell me in the comments below of the video or the build, what was the most surprising or unexpected from what you saw? And why or how was it surprising or unexpected? Drop it down in the comment. I'd like to see what everyone's thinking. And just like that, you can go from paper to leather. Pretty easy, huh? Oh, speaking of questions or comments, a question I get all the time is how many cards will fit in that wallet? Well, right here, I just loaded this one up, 4 in each pocket, and that would be 4 times 4. Well, you know what the answer is, 16. 16 cards right there. Yep, she's a monster.